I'm all for it. You know where I stand.
This is Amber. I think, okay.
It's so fucked up and it's so rooted in racism, to be perfectly honest.
There it is. You did it. You brought it full circle, Amber. Thank you.
This shit drives me fucking crazy.
Amber, I have so much appreciation for you. My name is Nathan from the podcast Critical Race Jewry. We're going to listen to another podcast by someone, Amber Khan. I don't listen to Amber Khan, but Kara wanted me to listen to this, react to it, so I'm going to do it because that sounds fun. Gotta zoom in so you guys can see. Amber Khan, Revolution Ramblings. This episode, The Cancer Full Moon. We're about 48 minutes into this episode.
It doesn't matter. It's not her fucking problem. If it really comes down to it, she's doing what she needs to do for her. And I really just don't see anything wrong with it. I really don't. For her, she's just a mood. But the more important thing here is who is actually pulling these fucking strings? And how much power do they have? Because they have a lot more power than she does. And okay, her power is like negligible. I get it. But she's still a figurehead. Right?
All right, we're about to get into it.
Who's pulling the strings? That's what I want to know. And on that note, I have something else to say. And I know this is going to sound really weird, but like, I don't think it's weird at all. It's something that's been on my mind for weeks now. And I'm so irritated. I just need someone to tell me why. Why y'all fuck with Jews? Why y'all don't leave Jews alone? What did they...
At first I thought she... Never mind. I like where Amber is at right now. I like this energy that they're putting out in the universe. I think we need more of this. Let's see.
To you. This shit drives me crazy. Y'all just arbitrarily picked a group of people from the Middle East who are even close to your skin color. They're not even like that much different from you. And y'all just hate them. And I don't understand. I've been watching all these like neo-Nazi things on Frontline, like the neo-Nazi movement that's growing in America. What the
Yes, it's growing in America, but it's like regrowing in America. It's already been, neo-Nazis have been here. But after the Holocaust, we erased our Nazi history because we didn't want to be like Hitler at all. We were trying to convince the whole world to be capitalist. We wanted to disassociate as much as we could from Hitler and those genocides so we could convince people that we were a wholesome, friendly America. When in reality, Nazis were here. Nazis have been here. So they're just, they've been here. It's just coming back a little bit.
What the fuck is wrong with you guys? Like, what is it? Why can't you leave them alone? They want to be left alone. They want to study. They want to work. They want to make money. They want to have a good life. They like, what the fuck? They're like every other fucking minority. Why won't you leave them alone? I don't get it. I find anti-Semitism so deeply distasteful. Like, yo, they're not doing anything to you. And now we go to this, this correlation that is always made between like this conflation of positions of power and people who are Jewish. Bro, if you want to be mad at Israelis, be mad at Israelis. Be mad at Israelis for their political policies and for their global interventionists, which they learned from their fucking master.
It's talking about is the fact that Jewish people are there in the first place because they got kicked out of Europe. That's why we don't talk about Jewish people getting kicked out of Europe after the Holocaust, because we like to pretend that immediately Jewish people, the entire attitude of the world changes magically. And it's just not true, man. We got kicked out and then we got kept out. And that's why so many Jews went to Israel. And if you guys are interested, you should look up anti-Zionist Jews in Israel. Jews who didn't want Israel to exist but had literally nowhere else to go and were dying in Poland after the Holocaust. So I mean, that's kind of what Amber's talking about right now.
Be mad at the political structure. Be mad at the government structure. What does their religion have to do with it? This shit drives me fucking crazy.
All right, so Amber, I have so much appreciation for you. The reason why you're frustrated and crazy and not calm in the understanding of what's going on is because it's not about religion, it's about race. And I know that's a really weird thing to say for a lot of people, but when you really understand that and take that in, you're going to understand why anti-Semitism exists in the modern day. Asking that question, what does our religion have to do with it, is that question's been asked. So that was what the Enlightenment was in Europe in the 1700s. And then there's a Jewish Enlightenment called the 𝗖𝗛𝗘𝗖𝗞, and that's in like the 1800s. That's our Enlightenment, but which is a different but similar thing. It adds a lot of language of rights, equal rights, civil rights. There's a lot of things going on there. It's very cool. But that European Enlightenment was questioning, what does their religion have to do? What does religion have to do with anything? And that's why they had to make it about race, was because people stopped hating Jews for the religion. Not as much in the East. There's still a lot of religious hate, but that weakens, and they realize they need to replace it with something, and it's race. And that's why, I used to be frustrated too, but when I started to understand what was going on, I'm a lot more calmer. I still have an exit plan. I still have a way to get the hell out of here. You're not for a second going to convince me that violence can't happen, because the Jewish people who used to say, before the Holocaust, people go, you're crazy. There's nothing bad's going to happen here. It's worse in America. There were people saying it was worse in America because of the anti-Semitism. Neo-Nazis are coming back. Yes, and it's been crazy over here.
You're talking about a people of the book. You're talking about God's first people. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, and this is the part that really gets me with the neo-Nazis and the Christians that hate Jews. Bro, Jesus is a Jew. What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
It's funny because these are, like, Amber, you're talking about some old hatred that still exists. You go into the South in America and you'll still find people who, when they meet Jews, will want to touch our horns. Like, there is old anti-Semitism, but that is, and that's like in Poland where they killed all of us in World War II. Like, there was a lot of that. It's called deicide. We killed Jesus, so we're evil forever, guilty by association. But a lot of it, I feel like a lot of it revolves around that more racial stuff. Just the fact that we think different and we have a different heritage, and it means we interact with the world differently. It's less about killing Jesus, but I hear you.
If you can bring yourself to believe that a human that walked on two legs is God, then can't you have enough fucking respect for his religion? If I believed that God was a human being, I would probably convert to the religion that he used to be. Not for nothing. No, I'm not kidding. Like, that's the type of logic I work off of. Like, if I actually believed that there was like a human being walking around who used to be God, I would find out everything about God and go be that. I would like move to
That would mean you'd be a socialist Jew.
Jerusalem and become a Jew and like grow my hair out more and wear sandals and like I would like if I'm telling you I know how it sounds, but I'm actually not being facetious. I don't understand you guys when you hate Jewish people. Why?
I love the word facetious. Why
are you doing this? It's so distasteful. There was another attack right now. Like, I think it was yesterday on a synagogue. Bro, come on. This shit is disgusting. And also, not to be like a bimbo, but...
Hey, I find this happens a lot. People don't know about the actual violence against Jewish people. You can Google it. That's something that you can always Google. But I get a lot of people being like, why should I care about you? Nothing's happening to you guys. And then we're getting attacks globally daily. And if like global stuff affects me just like how if, you know, it's like if a black person gets beat up in California, you're going to feel it in New York. You know what I mean? For that police brutality. It's like if you attack a Jew anywhere, I'm going to feel it a little bit. So just Google that. Inform yourself. Like Amber. Amber, good job.
Like, can we stop with the fucking 1930s rhetoric? Honestly, we're in 2021. It's been a really long time.
We're in 2022 now.
Since people were stupid enough to believe that just because you believe in a religion, that makes you bad. Like, I'm sorry, as a Muslim, I can't fucking stand it.
That's because it's not about religion, but I love where your head is out. But you're always going to be confused, Amber, until you understand that it's not this, it's more than religion. Religion is vaguely still involved, but that's because the government of Europe used to really be the church. I mean, you had the Holy Roman Empire. You know what I mean? You had like the governments, all governments in Europe basically used to pay taxes to the church. It used to be the governing body. They could start crusades, and they did against Jews multiple times. Jews and Muslims. I mean, it's about the religion, but now it's about so much more. Because
we're going through it right now. Our 1930s is right now.
There is a Jew who caught some flack because they basically agreed with this Turkish guy who was saying that Turkish people are the new Jews of Europe. And this Jewish guy was like, yeah, I can see that, what you guys are going through. And the Jewish community kind of freaked out a little bit. And I'm sure some other people probably freaked out a little bit. But listen, man, Muslim people are going through it right now, yes. And, in America and in Europe. And it's something we should be keeping our eyes on as well.
We're fucking living through that shit. You're destroying our part of the world. You're trying to fucking eradicate us.
Yeah.
And I can't help but notice that, like, you tried to fucking destroy them and eradicate them, and you still hate them now.
Boy, do they ever. But that's thank you, because you're bringing up the next good point, which is that, like, this isn't even for me, why this resonates with me, this isn't even their first time trying to destroy us. So there's what is that period of peace in between the destroyings? What is that? For me, that's the whiteness trying to entice Jews back, European Jews back, white passing Jews back into the cultures to prepare us to be destroyed again.
Like it's not even like the Holocaust made y'all think and be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't be mean to Jews. You just like hate them more.
Yes, they do, Amber. They do, and there's interesting. Folks, there's interesting psychologists who argue that the Holocaust made Europeans hate us more because they won't forgive us. They won't forgive Jews for what they did to us. And I know that that's a lot to unpack, but, the people explore this concept. I think it's Dostoevsky in Russia talks about how he does this terrible prank to this guy. And then the guy falls for it, and the character who pranked him can never forgive him for falling for it because now he's guilty forever. And now expand that to fit the Holocaust, that they did this stuff, and now they're guilty. They feel, but just the answer is hold yourself accountable. But let's continue.
It's so fucked up, and it's so rooted in racism. To be perfectly honest,
there it is. You did it. You brought it full circle, Amber. Thank you. I see. Did you just draw me in? You're good.
Honest. It's just fucking racism and fear of anything that may be even a little bit more magical than what you think you got going on. Like
a little bit more magical. That's the trap too, is putting people on pedestals. You think you think there's something magical about Jewish people. You think there's something. How do we keep doing it? I just listened to a poem by this woman who converted to Judaism. White woman converted to Judaism and was talking about everything we experienced and all the pogroms and And it was, I'm sure it was beautiful. I'm sure it was a beautiful poem, but I was just like, none of that stuff don't romanticize any of this stuff. We're not that magical. We just, we're no more magical than anyone else. We just are surviving. That's,
Like, I don't get it. I find it deeply, deeply distasteful. I really do. It really fucking gets on my nerves. Like, you want to have a problem with a country who has policies that are a certain way? Go ahead. I'm all for it. You know where I stand.
This is Amber, I think, okay. Because this is where people, good white people, and good other, anyone can be anti-Semitic. Good people fall into this trap, like with the BDS movement, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. When black people were boycotting in America, they boycotted specific businesses. It was targeted. It was intentional. There was strategy. There are people who will boycott, divest, and sanction Israel, but just randomly, the whole country. So at that point, you're really just, there's no strategy, there's no intention. It's really the strategy and intent is just fuck up those Jews. That's it. And people get caught in this trap, but that's because you don't realize the racism at play. You really think we're white. You guys really think we're white people just expanding white people's empires after the Holocaust? Like, what the fuck? Except Amber researches.
This idea that you can just blanket hate a group of people because of how they worship their God is so beyond disgusting. And especially, like, what kind of idiot are you?
And it's not, in Europe, it's not about how, it's not just like, I mean, at this point, the hate isn't, it's just about how we reacted to everything you've done to us. The way we self-segregate, the way we cope with white supremacy by feeling superior ourselves. Every minority does that. But we do that too. We had, especially in America with the whole chosen people thing. It's good content.
You're closing yourself off from a segment of the population that is ostensibly probably the most well-educated, the most interesting to talk to, some of the most successful people you're ever...
Thank you. We are so interesting to talk to and hear our stories. That message is also to Jewish people. If you're Jewish and you think only one kind of Jewish is Jewish, go talk to other Jews. There are so many, there's such a diversity in the community, a diversity of experiences, a diversity of heritage and stories. So interesting. Especially if you didn't forget, you talk to a Jew who knows where they came from. Not one who's like diehard about being white and has completely forgot where they come from. Talk to someone who still knows.
Ever gonna meet, if we're gonna stereotype in a positive way here, like you're cutting yourself off from a minority that isn't just like doing nothing. You're cutting yourself off from a minority that's really interesting. Like, you can't keep conflating.
And not only are they cutting themselves off from us, in the Holocaust, you see them making it, right after the Holocaust, they make it easier for Nazis to come into America. They, as in the American State Department, the American government, makes it easier for Nazis to come to the U.S. You're not just ignoring us as an interesting group of people. The world we live in has positioned our oppressors as higher than us, has given them a higher status than us. So just don't forget, even if, we could talk about the complexity, we're not, Jewish people aren't always it's not black and white. You're either the oppressed or the oppressor, but it's nice to hear it. It's nice to hear some recognition.
The fucked up things that a corporation does, a country does with religion, because that's like, especially as a Muslim, Because we're going through this right now. People are doing this to us, and you know how fucked up.
I always think it's wild how much Muslim people and Jewish people, like even Palestinians, Jewish people got kicked out of their land and then forced into another plot of land, Palestine, which was at that point owned by the British. It was ruled over by the British. So we get kicked out of Europe. We get taken by white people and put in Palestine. Whereas Palestinian people are now kind of getting kicked out of their spot by the British, who put the Jews there, and then they come to America, which is country that was stolen by white people. So now you have Palestinians living on land stolen by white people. You got Jews living on land stolen by white people, which puts Palestinians in America living on land stolen by white people. There's so much in common. There's so much in common for us to relate over.
It is. So we should be the first people speaking up about how not to do this to other people. It's our job, right? It's our job. It's incumbent on us to do. We have to do this. And if you look back in history, this is what the Jews did for us. Part of the reason that Islam was able to spread the way that it...
Thank you. Arab Jews, rich Jews all over the world. Europe gets way too much attention, partially because of the anti-Semitism, so it's like the whole wide world is targeting us. But so it's not always a great thing. But without Arab Jews, you wouldn't have Jews. And this is well done. Thank you, Kara. Thank you, Amber.
Part of the reason that Islam was welcomed in the countries that it was welcomed into was because the Jewish population supported us.
In particular, in Spain, you can get a lot of history there of Jewish people acting as an intermediary between Muslims and Christians. And, there was a lot, Christians they were in a repressive, Christian empire, but the Muslim people were so much more advanced and so much more intellectually curious at the time. So Christians really wanted to interact with Muslims. So they worked with Jews, and Jews in return worked with, so this is real history.
These are the facts and these are the histories that they don't want you to know. It is incumbent on us. We must do it. I keep wanting to say, Hamara Farzad. We have to do it. Because we know what it feels like for someone to look at our fathers and our brothers and think they're fucking, bomb-toting terrorists just because they have brown skin.
I feel there's so much back towards you. I just want to let you know. I know you obviously know some good Jewish people, but just want to let you know I feel this back. I mean, it's Jews in America have a responsibility to talk about the oppression of the Palestinian people, even though we don't talk about it as we don't have that same anti-Semitic hate for Israel. And there are Jews who do. Reconstructionist Judaism, there's a lot of conversation in that movement. It was very American. It was created in America. There's this movement. If you're more interested if you're a Jew out there who's more interested in finding communities that are talking about this stuff in this way, Reconstructionist Judaism, check it out. You might hate it.
You think because a man prays in a synagogue, he's what? He's the Israeli prime minister? Grow the fuck up, bro. It's disgusting. It's just as disgusting as hating black people for the color of their skin. It's just as disgusting as thinking that every fucking brown person is a terrorist. All this shit is the same.
I've never told this story publicly in this way. A couple years ago, was sitting with my friends in this Quaker community that I grew up in, because life was weird for Jewish people after the Holocaust. So I grew up around Quakers. And One of them turned to me. I remember saying, I was curious about what it would look like to put Jews on the census. I was wondering where we were demographically, what was going on. I just wanted to know. And my friend turned to me and he was like, this real liberal guy, very liberal, turned to me and asked me in the worst tone, do Jews even still matter? And I remember just being like, that's crazy. You know, Black Lives Matter was up. We knew all these blank lives matter movements were happening. And just to be asked in this time of that this man was so aware of, to be asked that question was crazy. And yeah, so this is my real life experience, you know, that's tame. That's a tame experience, but it resonates with me really hard because especially the silence of no one said anything. This is the most liberal group of people I know. No one said a damn thing. It's crazy.
You can't somehow exclude anti-Semitism because some of them look white. Nah, it's the same fucking shit. It's discrimination against the minority, and it's fucked up. You're talking about families. Like, you guys are talking about them like they're animals, but these are people who have families. And
Amber, let's mention a few of these. Amber, when people call us leeches, that's a classic one when you talk about Jewish people not working as hard as Christians, because Christians have a very specific idea of what work is, which is very short-sighted concept of what work is. It's usually to convince people to continue making money for richer people. You know, work in the field, work hard, work till you die. That's the only way you work. And Jewish people like to read and think and be emotional and, you know, experience the world in a different way. And people call us leeches. They say we don't work. We don't contribute to society. When you look at our contributions to arts and culture and all these insane things that countries that's not Jewish, he was Czech, that's not Jewish, that's Czech. Our contributions are insane, but they often get, you know, those are the animals we get compared to: leeches, rats, rodents, these things, mouse. Yeah.
Kids and moms and dads, like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And where does this fucking white hate come from? That's the thing that really got me about that documentary. You know where this fucking white hate comes from? Let me tell you. Ease. जब आराम आता है ना, जब आराम ज्यादा.
Did you just say ease? Like ease of life? Like easy because the shit's easy, and then this is the thing that people don't understand about minorities is you make shit hard, you force us to think outside of the box, you force us outside of the box, and then we do these insane things with what we're given, and then people are like, they're cheating. And it's like it's like maybe life has just actually kind of been easier for you, and you got a little soft. You got a little uncreative. You got a little complacent. That is if that's what Amber just said, because that killed me. That's funny. That's super. That's
when people get real comfortable.
Yep.
Then they start thinking of all kinds of shit to be mad about. They start thinking of all the when someone is spoiled, they want more. Being spoiled doesn't make you content. It should, right? You're getting everything you want, but being spoiled just makes you want more. Well, I have all the cake, but why does she have even one slice? I want that one slice too.
Hey, I do want to say real quick, like the poorest, most exploited white people have had it crazy. I feel like that's something we don't, as minorities, we don't always acknowledge, but I mean, half my family is like descended from the potato famine, Irish side, not the British side, not on the British side, but they're, you know, and what they go through is absolutely crazy. I mean, their lives, generally, people don't care about their lives. I mean, you got white people falling from buildings, dying, doing work that, you know, is given to it. They've been through a lot. There's some deep stuff there that we ignore in terms of their traumas. So I do want to acknowledge that as a mixed person. There's some crazy stuff that white people are going through. But that being said, there's a lot of white people where there really isn't that much crazy shit. And you really need like a potato famine or some insane thing where the government's trying to kill you. Like those are the people still stuck in those loops, those cycles of poverty and just insaneness. Those are the people I'm talking about. That's not all the white people. So don't get it twisted. You know who you are.
Ease. You're talking about people who for generations were able to survive in a hostile place.
Hostile. Hostile means aggressively anti-us. People think that shit is fine, and then the Holocaust happens. There's periods of insane violence against Jewish people. The Holocaust isn't the only thing. And don't set your bar to the Holocaust. Don't be like, if it's not the Holocaust, it's not that bad. That's the worst. I hate that. Because Jews are getting fucked up everywhere all the time.
By no feat of their own doing. They did nothing.
We did some stuff.
They bought and sold what to them was a commodity only.
Sure.
And that commodity created, sustained, and cultivated an entire way of life.
I mean, this is so true. So when our second temple gets destroyed, right? The Romans destroy our second temple, our entire hierarchy, the hierarchy that is maintained in the West, our hierarchy, our version of that is just it's gone. So we have to create something new. And a lot of Jewish people are forced, there's so much poverty in the land after the destruction of the Second Temple, after that country is robbed. That's what builds the Colosseum in Rome, I believe, is the wealth robbed from Israel. And so when in response to that, Jewish people are moving. There's a lot of Jewish people displaced, and they become, they start to think, okay, not a lot of us own land anymore. So what does it mean in our rules? We have all these laws about landowners, and so they made it so that merchandise could be your land. This is some old stuff, but this concept that your goods and the things you have to sell can be considered your land. So if you have those goods, you can be considered a landowner in our social structures. So when Amber is talking about how we had these things, I mean she's right. They start as just things, and then we do turn them into this. We adapt our circumstances. We adapt to our circumstances. And it's a wild thing. Jewish history is insane. It's not like a lot of other places that have developed through empires, and we've always developed on the edge of empires, or as a nation among nations, just drifting with our goods, with our Israel. We called our goods Israel. And then that used to be Israel for a lot of Jews, was our goods, our merchantry, our stuff that we were selling.
For them to enjoy and survive off of. Ease. The ease in slavery that white people enjoyed. And I'm not talking about the poor whites who were working alongside black people and working alongside the enslaved.
There it is. That's our recognition. I'm continuously impressed.
I'm not talking about the poor whites. I'm not talking about the indigenous. I'm talking about the white people who were sitting at the top of these power structures, and all the little outlets that were associated with all the little satellites off that power structure that also had power of their own. I'm talking about those people. And I'm talking about them specifically because they're the ones who set the tone.
This is interesting. So these tone setters, it's interesting. Some people argue that violence wasn't in the Middle East, but anti-Semitic violence didn't exist in the Middle East the same way it did in the West, where they were just slaughtering us, burning us, just killing us. And then there's something called the Damascus blood libel case, where these Western influencers came to Damascus, Syria, right? Convinced these Arab rulers that the Jewish people were using their children's blood in ritual, and then convinced these Arab rulers to use the same style of violence that was being used in Europe. So there's this idea, and I think this is around the 1800s, although it could have been earlier, but there's this idea where this insane violence against Jews in the Middle East was even, there was, don't get me wrong, Jews were dhimmi status. They were not necessarily, they had different experience. Not every Jew had the same experience. And there are people who are getting shit on even in Arab countries, but there's a lot of Jews who are living all right. And then Westerners come over. Yeah. Westerners.
Even for the poor whites. Okay? Those people enjoyed a level of ease that is so unnatural that it spoiled them. It turned them rotten. And that rotten sensibility continues to rot at the heart of this country to this day. And that's, my friends, is how karma fucking works. Karma, it is a punishment that fits the crime. Do you understand? The karma for enslaving, robbing, torturing, murdering, raping, genetically fucking altering an entire continent of people arbitrarily. The punishment for that, well, it has to fit the crime. They built your nation, sustained it, made it what it is. And your ease.
And don't forget, you can see this in Ukraine too. Everyone's talking about Ukraine. It's really not my biggest focus in life, but Putin, the leader of Russia, is talking about denazifying Ukraine. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff. Europe never held itself accountable for the Holocaust. There is a deep rot that is deeply connected to their anti-Jewish sentiments and feelings and heritage. And, so what I'm just trying to say, it's not just in America. You can see it, and it's bubbling up in Europe, too. It's been bubbling up for the past 20 years ago. The United States wrote a letter to Europe, this long letter, and was like, to the EU, and was like, you guys need to handle your anti-Semitism. But, it's that rot is ever present. And yes, it absolutely comes from, I can see that, being spoiled by, they pillaged basically like the whole earth so that they could give everyone in the West, so they could give their people a better life, and that better life was the spoiling.
And the hate that it produced will destroy that same nation.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what, karma is a poet. Watch that documentary. Watch. You're going to see it. You're going to see where this is going. You're going to see that their hate is based solely on the fact that they know that there's no longer a place for them.
Nah, I don't know. That's an interesting point. I would say their hate is. Oh, you're talking about the internal rot. I mean, their hate against Jews is based so that this structure that is fucking them can continue to exist, so that they're ever distracted, so that the masses never actually fix the real problem and instead just divert that energy towards hating Jews. I mean, that's why they hate Jews. But if you're talking about that, yeah, okay. If you're talking about that internal rot, Okay, that's a little bit different. But don't get that's why it's continuing against Jews. So if you really want to end anti-Semitism, you got to fix our fucked up hierarchies. You got to really put in the work and understand what role we as individuals play in this, you know? I mean, even that person, down to the person who's working at the DMV, who could accept some, you know, they don't have to turn someone away. They really could. This person brought enough identification. They're definitely that motherfucking person. But they turn them away, and then that person snaps because they lose their shit. You know what I mean? It's like, what do we all as individuals, what role are we really playing? Are we following all the rules? Should we be? All of that. I just had someone recently say, I don't want allies, I want accomplices. And I was like, oh, that was good. That was Rabbi Sandra Lawson. That was good stuff.
They've become obsolete. The anger, the hate, the rage, their tactics, the words they use, the way they train, the way they accumulate arsenal. These are the actions, behaviors, and words of a thing that knows it is obsolete.
Yes.
If your identity as an American white man is that I sit on...
Yes, our thousands of year old structures are obsolete. They definitely need to be. There is stuff that goes back to the beginning of humanity that we need to understand as such. There's there's all sorts of things in here that just need to be revisited. And the reason they haven't been revisited is because you guys have been busy killing Jewish people.
Between social media, the internet, and e-commerce, the power structures that white men used to sit on top of, whichever power structure was in their vicinity, they were at the top of it. Well, those structures don't exist anymore. So the only structures that still exist where they can sit at the top, that aren't affected by financials, that aren't affected by the market, are the military and the police. And if you look at the newest numbers, what you'll see is that we spend more on our police than most governments spend on their country's military. And one of the only countries that spends more on their military than our police is us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, there's so many TVs and so many distractions. As that documentary plainly shows you,
Nope.
many of the people in the neo-Nazi movement are in the military. In fact, they have started sending kids into the military.
Did you? All right. Amber, even after the Holocaust, the American government is recruiting Nazis into their military for the purpose of fighting communism, because Nazis were anti-communist or whatever. Nothing matters. Because they have so much in common, even with, the fascism is so similar, even if they have different ideologies. But Nazis were supposed to be anti-communist, and so after the Holocaust, that's why so many Nazis. If you're ever like, why did so many Nazis come to America? Why did America? That's why they wanted soldiers. They wanted people who had just finished fighting a war who were anti-communist. The best part about this, if you do your research, is that all of the Nazis, pretty much all the Nazis they bring over, contribute or pay their salaries and bring into the United States military, their Secret Service and not Secret Service, the CIA, all these different Nazi spies they hire and stuff. They're all useless, which is an amazing way to wrap up Nazi people's contribution to history, which is useless, except to show us how you can be the ultimate level of the worst.
To learn new tactics, to steal weaponry. Oh yeah, go watch it. So they've realized that they're obsolete. So now they're taking the only two power structures that are still available to them
Sure. And also, it's nice, you know, you have the police and the military. You can also now direct mobs towards the Jews. That happens a lot in European history. Is you got like rioting, everyday people killing Jews, and then right behind them are the cops and the military helping to like kind of organize things. And so, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if that's something we see in America too, as things get unraveled more and more.
And they're using those structures to fund their personal war against deletion.
And that's been going on for like thousands of years. Similar structure. It's just about keeping that alive, keeping that way of life alive. Kind of you know, deeply rooted to just empire, just the concept of empires in general, and those hierarchies that you always find in empires. I mean, you always got every empire has an emperor. You know what I mean? They all have these hierarchies and these top-down pyramid. That's what we're keeping alive. That's what they're trying to keep alive. Is this top-down, where you have one motherfucker at the top who's living their best life, and then everyone else is just getting different kinds of scraps.
And they'll take out as many of us, because apparently we're the cause of them being rendered useless. It has never occurred to them. Again, this is what ease does to you. It has never occurred to them that they have been rendered obsolete by their own actions or by their inaction. See, because if you're not working in the fields, you're not inventing the machines. And if you're not inventing the machines,
sure,
your mind isn't even working that way. And if your mind isn't even working that way...
I mean, on top of that, they have, you know, particularly Gentiles, are in the church, right? And the church has played a role. This religious American religious experience, this Christian experience, has played a role in ending cultural programs, ending arts programs, focusing on math and you know, technology in ways that don't stimulate creativity. And then, yeah, this is, you know, not only are they spoiled, but they're also being told and listening. That inaction that Amber's talking about, they're being told and they're listening to this concept of basically just stay as fucking stupid as possible so that we can keep telling you what the fuck to do. Now I'm getting a little mean, but you guys, this really, it is for Jewish people throughout history. I mean, for minorities, this is a life or death for minorities. So I hope that people aren't too offended.
Sorry, Kylie. It was just better with Jordan. Yeah, I mean, like, the special sauce is special sauce. And if you know the special sauce, like, why are you mad? Why are you mad when we can all cooperate and live together? Oh, you just thought the sauce was the ease? The way you get the sauce is that you gotta work. How are you gonna get the sauce if you never did the thing? Okay, you don't have to be out there every day for the rest of your life picking cotton, but if you have never picked cotton, how do you know what kind of machine you need to come up with so people don't have to work this hard?
Sure.
See, it's not just about using the enslaved as a commodity. They were dumbing themselves down by doing it.
Hey, before this, they got about 2,000 something years. I mean, there's a whole heritage of the only Amber talked about Jewish people being smart earlier. Jewish people have had a public school system within our community for like 2,000 years. a lot of Gentiles, even my family, my non-Jewish family included, basically the only education we got was once a week we would go and listen to what a priest had to tell. That was the education system. I mean, it's coming off of thousands of years of pure ignorance. And it shows. And it shows. Even in myself, when I get crazy, it shows.
That innovation that would have happened if they had been even a fraction more human. If they had worked alongside the people. If they had treated them like people. If there had been open dialogue. They dumb themselves down with their cruelty.
Sure.
With their obscene laws.
Yeah. I mean, plus, once you do some cruel stuff, now you're for the rest of your life, you're worried someone's going to do something cruel to you. So you spend the rest of your life preparing for that. You know, it's like you got stupid. This is not the right way to say this. People aren't stupid. But let's say it just to sum it up. You got stupid people do something shitty and then are constantly for the rest of their life scared that it's going to come back to them. And then instead of educating themselves and being inquisitive and curious and getting to know other people, they shut themselves off, get weird and warlike. And you know what I mean? It just creates this cycle of nonsense. Shout out to Ukraine and the constant warfare in that area. Yeah.
They made themselves stupid. Ease. And now they're mad because they don't have the sauce. Oh, the sauce must be in the melanin. The sauce must be... Yeah. It couldn't just be... that they work hard or that they're smart. It has to be some supernatural shit.
Honestly, listen, I think about this all the time. In America, we talk about, how hardworking immigrants are. Like, there's the stereotypes, at least the ones that I know, where you got, like, Mexican people super hardworking people. Now, Jewish people in America are, if they're European, are white passing. If they're white passing, they're white passing. So imagine if you got a super intense work ethic. You're working so hard because you're literally escaping genocide. Every day you work to contribute to society so that you don't get genocided. You working real fucking hard and you are white passing. America is the best Jewish people I've ever had it. Because you guys are so focused on hating black people and people of color that we've had this tiny little break. And we're excelling because our hard work, our outside of the box mindset, these things we're good at what we do and we're excelling. And people are like, oh, this is evidence that they control everything. Nah, man, it's evidence that we think different. And so we're excelling. Right? We're excelling in these systems because we think that we're contributing. We don't have that same ease. Our history is not necessarily your history. Jewish history is not really white history.
It couldn't just be that we're made all the same, but some of us aren't afraid to work hard.
And not just that, man. Some of us have to work hard. I mean, some of us, like, swear to God, the reason Jewish people have been allowed to exist is because a couple of us we're good with money, numbers, reading, writing. We have education. We're good at jobs that require an education. We don't decide which jobs get the most money. We're not the ones who are like, bankers should make more than farmers or teachers. That's y'all. You guys decide that. We're just good at banking. You feel me? Does that make sense to you? And then you guys figure out where shit goes. Because we know that if you don't like it, you can just kill Jews. We know that. We're not that... So you guys really have the control in this situation, is what I'm trying to tell you. Own that. Own how much power you got as individuals over this system that relies on your protection. And I'm talking now specifically to Gentiles, to good white people And remember where the hell you came from, man. How many white people came over escaping absolute nonsense? And then you ask them where you come from. These are the least educated in America, white people. And they haven't been educated, so they don't fucking, they're like, oh, I think we like Italian. It's like, man, do some research into where you came from. Like, look at the problems you were dealing with and realize that running to America didn't fix everything. So America isn't the goddamn answer the way it is now.
It couldn't just be that. It has to be something much more magical than that. Because if it's not magical and we all have the same 24 hours and we all have the same muscles and bones, then you're a fucking failure. Isn't that right? I told you before, I once had a guy from Indiana try to convince me that black men had an extra tendon in their foot. I said, like, if you can't deal with the fact that black men can jump higher than you, I understand that. But don't try to...
That reminds me of the horns thing. You got an extra tendon in your foot. That reminds me of these Jewish people who talk about people being like, where are your horns at? That's crazy.
Listen, Mr. Moriarty, listen. What is it, Dr. Moreau? Listen, Dr. Moreau. The island of Dr. Nobody's putting extra tendons in anyone. You're just, listen. Epigenetics is a real thing. Y'all fucked your epigenetics up. Y'all didn't work. Y'all had lives of ease. Y'all didn't innovate because... And, of course, my mom called. And then...
Hey, Mom. I finished the video. Thank you, Kara, my producer, showing me Amber. I'm probably going to start listening to some more Amber stuff. Amazing. Really good analysis. Like, fully rounded analysis. I really feel like it was intentional drawing me in and then explaining what, getting me to ask all these questions and then explaining that. It's beautifully done.